this mood of, there's another verse I would like to quote. I don't know how the Sanskrit goes, this is from the Tanya Charitamrita, so it's Bengali. Kali Kalera Dhamma Krishna Nama Sankirtanam Krishna Shakti Vinana Hetar Pravartana. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. So when we're sitting and chanting our japa every day, that is the fundamental religious system in the age of Kali. So check. That's nice. At least we're doing the right thing. And then it says, unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. So while we chant our japa, we can be conscious of that. And we can try to be present in every single syllable of the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And internally we can have this mood of Krishna, please invest in me this Krishna Shakti so that I may be able to propagate the Sankirtan movement. Because as we just saw in Lithuania, when the Sankirtan movement is properly propagated and there's a lot of devotees taking part in Krishna consciousness, then it becomes even more ecstatic because there's someone to share the ecstasy with. So we can just pray simply, then we may become instruments in the hands of Krishna and the disciplic succession, and that we can propagate the Sankirtan movement, because that is beneficial for ourselves, it is beneficial for Krishna, and it's beneficial for the entire world. So I think I can ask now if there's any comments or questions. No? Maybe Marcus is sharing over here.
I have a question. You were saying about this enthusiasm for preaching and
yes.
this mission, but also we know according to Bhagavad Gita there is, if this enthusiasm is enthusiasm of conditioned soul, then it must be three types, either like in mode of ignorance, passion, or goodness, or in case of pure soul it can be even like Shuddha. So how to, for us, go on this platform, stay on this platform of goodness at least, if we cannot be to Shuddha, but also be enthusiastic and not lose this this passion characteristic that actually we need to do some like result. You need to, because creating and result is symptom of mode of passion. But
Krishna, he says in Bhagavad Gita that determination in the mode of goodness means that you do your duty, you just perform your work out of duty. So that's mode of goodness. So knowing that this needs to be going on, and just like, like by knowledge you can be enthusiastic. Like if you become aware and you're conscious in the present moment, what is this activity that I'm doing? If we realize the nature of that activity, then we automatically become enthusiastic, because the nature of the activity is completely amazing. Introducing people to Krishna there's nothing higher. So, how can there be no enthusiasm? Srila Prabhupada, he wrote one letter, and it was about this, how everyone should be engaged, and how everyone should join the Sankirtan party as soon as possible. And he says, in the beginning, one may think it very austere, in the same way as a child going to school will normally think, hey, why should I do this? I just want to be home and play, because that's more fun. So, but because the child has this condition, not wanting to go to school, he just wants to play, so there needs to be pressure. So one is pressured on the street. But then, like the child, pressured to go to school, suddenly thinks, hey, but there's so many nice kids in my school, and we learn like stuff which I can use. So like I learn how to read, so that makes my time when I'm at home even better, because now I can read all these nice books that I just realized are on the shelves. So in the same way, it may be like very austere to go on the street, but if we're just doing it like out of duty, or even we're like pressured, like kids learning how to swim, sometimes the most easy way to teach a kid how to swim is just to push him in the water, and then he gotta swim. So of course that's not what we're doing. We try to like give people training first, but just yeah, I don't know. Enthusiasm is really something that it's really just a thing of the mind. Like the austerity of the mind is to be satisfied. So if we can learn that art of being satisfied, if the material desires, they are low because we control the mind and we control the senses, and that way we can use the mind and just say, okay, enthusiasm, go, and just based on the knowledge, Krishna, he says, Yaidan paramam kuyam man bhaktis vabhidashyati bhakti mayi param kritva mamivaishyati shamshaya, that the one who gives us knowledge unto others, one who teaches the science of devotional service to the devotees. How is this? Just one second.
One who explains the supreme secret?
Yeah. For one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. So like, that's like the reason we should be enthusiastic, because by doing what we're doing, we are guaranteed pure devotional service, and we know that pure devotional service, that's actually the only thing that can really make us happy. And at the end we will come back to Krishna and enjoy happily, eternally, in a life full of knowledge. So like, why not just be enthusiastic? And that's it?
Yeah, I just had a point about this with the brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, ashrams, that if one lives a nice brahmachari life and learn this to surrender to one's spiritual master, study the Vedas and like that, then Hridayananda Maharaj, he once time visited Denmark, and there most brahmacharis, they had been taught that they first should get married when they're 40 years old. We had a temple president at that time who was preaching like that. Better wait as long as possible. But then Hridayananda Maharaj, he came to Denmark, and then he said that if you think that it is a fall down to get married, then you're all stupid. And it was like half a year later, 4 or 5 brahmacharis had changed ashram. My point is just that it should not be a fall down. It should actually be a gradation up if you are properly trained as a brahmachari to view the wife and the children, to bring them into the grihastha ashram and remain there and support each other in this way that is stated there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So if we have too much fear of this ashram or that ashram, we should also not be fearful to take sannyas. Yeah. If one performs a grihastha ashram nicely, then it should also be for some devotees, yeah? A natural consequence to be able to give it up. So it's just that if we keep some unnecessary fear, then of course we should not rush into it and like this. And differently, many of you here that Srila Prabhupada didn't think if one is lusty, one should differently maybe not get married, because that is not the right impetus for getting married, right? But it's not the solution. But still, we should, elevate ourselves. And then the Grihastha should view the brahmacharis as their sons.
That's also like what we saw in practice in Lithuania was like, it was so nice to see because it were just so established and it was like very attractive to the whole society around them, that like there was just so many like different people and so many different like frames in which you can conduct Krishna consciousness. There was a lot of quite young Grihasthas, like one I think he must have been like 22, 23, the one who just got married, Vyasadeva Das.
Yeah, I think he was even younger.
Yeah, could be. So he just entered Grihastha ashram, and there was a lot of others who were just like maybe like 25, 26, something like that. And like they very responsibly entered Grihastha ashram, and in that way that's like very effective for preaching because they have both aspects. People who come, they see, oh okay, here's the brahmacharis and here's the Grihasthas. So hey, I have something to choose from. So maybe I should just like check it out and I see, okay, what suits me best. So like new people coming in, of course. So like in that way, but it all starts by us preaching, because if we attract a lot of people here, then naturally there will be some who get married and there will be some who stay brahmachari. And in that way, by attracting a lot of people, by preaching a lot, by going out full time and actually being Krishna conscious, because that's the attractive aspect of everything. It's not just like the Shri Taiki. Varnashram Dharma itself, that's like the social framework. And then in itself it's very practical, but without Krishna consciousness, then it's just like a thing, like a concept. But with Krishna consciousness, then it's like very, very beautiful and very attractive. So in that way, if we preach a lot, then naturally the whole Vedic society will start to establish. Like Srila Prabhupada says, like right now we have a society without a head. So society without a head, like it doesn't matter, you may have arms and you may have belly and you may have legs, but no head, no use. So in that way, we first try to like establish Brahminical qualities. So like whoever they come in contact with the Krishna consciousness movement, they can get the proper guidance according to their particular nature. And in that way, it will all gradually come, but just like there need to be like this impetus to keep on preaching and keep on spreading the movement. And then naturally everything will follow and we will have a very, very nice society to live in. I also had one friend who was coming here, one guest. He said, actually I think everything you talk about here in these books, like it's so amazing. I never heard anything like it. I'm just a little scared because you're so few. It seems like just like very, very little sect, but if there was like more, like if it was like bigger, more established, then I think I would like have more courage to like join in and to like, so, and that's what we see in Lithuania, because it's established to such a degree that people just say, hey, here's like a society within the society, so I can just disconnect myself from that and connect myself to that. That seems like a good choice. And then people, they do like that, so it's growing like anything. So, yeah. Anyway, we agree completely that it's not a fall down to enter Grihastha ashram, but it's nice preaching, because that attracts people to everything. Krishna consciousness is nice. Anything else?
Can I just make one small humble comment on this, what Mataji said? First thing is that actually this thing that Hridayananda Maharaj said, we should not make a general rule of it, because first of all we don't know, actually maybe Mataji knows better, circumstances in which he said so. And this was addressed to the certain people, probably certain personalities, and for them maybe it was stupid, to think that it's like fall down or something, but in general we know what actually Prabhupada said, that there is in Shikshamrita a lot of topic, a lot of letters, correspondence with Prabhupada, with other his disciples about the Hasta ashram, entering or staying brahmachari. And Prabhupada actually said there that as long as possible one should maintain brahmachari ashram. But if it is like too much disturbance, then one should get married. So it's not actually quite correct what Mataji said, that if we are disturbed by lusty desires, that maybe we should not actually enter Grihastha ashram, we should stay brahmachari. But actually we should enter Grihastha ashram, but try to do as much as possible.
But you heard my point was that
I have nothing about.
So actually, there is general rules, general recommendations and instructions, but there is also specific,
But I think this one about like everyone should like wait till at least 40 before taking Grihastha ashram. I think that goes in the category of Niyamagraha. But Madhav's right, you had a point?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Mataji, because using the word fall down to Grihastha ashram, there's some certain rules you have to follow in Grihastha ashrams also. It's definitely not a fall down. If you enter the Grihamiti ashram, this is not an ashram, that's a completely different thing. So actually, maybe sounds a little stupid for me, but Grihastha ashram is quite elevated ashram, because it's not like, it's very difficult, there's a lot of things you have to deal with. But it's also true that if you have lusty desires, or if you have these things, then maybe it's better to get married and then live it out by getting Krishna conscious children, and then you will be cured of that, because you know that the consequences are. So it's never a fall down never ever a fall down to enter the Grihastha ashram unless you choose to be a Grihamiti. And for instance, if you marry and you don't follow all the four regulative principles, then it can be considered a fall down. But you can fall down in the brahmachari ashram, you can fall down in the Grihastha ashram, and you can also fall down in sannyasa life. But entering an ashram is not a fall down.
Also, this point is mentioned that like if you might be able to renounce the objects of the senses when they are not freely available. Like one person may come to Krishna consciousness and say, hey, I become a celibate monk, I renounce sex life. But one may never have had any sex life, so what did you renounce? But if you like, for example, if you are like up front with the sense objects, but you say, no, I'd rather not, then that's a more elevated kind, because you actually renounce. So in this way, yeah, Grihastha ashram, that's definitely a very, very elevated platform, and we see people working on that platform doing very, very nice service for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, he was very, at one point he was very happy about his Grihasthas. Another point he was also not so happy. So of course
they were not followed for the treasure.
Yeah, so that's that, and so that's not Grihastha ashram, it's Grihamiti. So it's, yeah, I agree.
I agree also, yeah. So I actually read that it was Srila Prabhupada who said to one devotee, brahmachari, who wanted to change ashram and get married because he felt lusty desires. I read it was a letter, a conversation with Srila Prabhupada and one of his disciples, and where Srila Prabhupada did not encourage him to get married out of lust, because poor wife. If this brahmachari would find a nice brahmacharini who was just properly situated, and then she would not know what to get into. The husband is supposed to be the leader, like we just read now, be a gentle soul, and maybe he needs some encouragement, some enthusiasm, and like that from his wife. But if the husband cannot control his senses, how should a woman ever be able to have faith and respect him and serve him? If there is this exploiting mentality, women, they come to Krishna consciousness in order to get protected. Yeah, they come just like the Prabhus, to be viewed upon as a spirit soul. Then if after brahmacharini life for 5 years, if you then get married and then you are misused, then it is, and you know that there is no divorce, then this is why so many of our marriages also break up, not only because of a lusty women there in the family. It is both sides,
So the brahmacharis, they should be also trained very nicely, like so they can actually be sense-controlled. Like Srila Prabhupada said, a first-class brahmachari makes a first-class grihastha. So, but just to like stay on the platform of like the four regulars principles and like following the instructions of the spiritual master. That's Prabhupada.
It's just a general point is that brahmachari training is supposed to be for training one to become a proper brahma. So it takes, normally it's like 12 years. So in that way one can say to be, because if the brahmachari is trained to be a proper brahmana, then he will be a good grihastha and get, good children. So in that way, it may be okay to think that one may need to be some years in a brahmacharya ashram, because if you become grihastha very early, you can say, or before you actually have gotten the brahminical qualities, then your children will be in the same style. And Prabhupada wanted to make the head of society. So in that way we can understand, that it's also encouraged that the brahmachari stay, long, but not just for staying a certain number of years. That's not the point. The point is that he may need that, because he may need to get trained to come to the brahminical level. So that's why, one may need to stay many, many years. But years as such is no importance. If the person is actually having the good qualities already after 2 years, then he can get married if he has the brahminical quality. That's the point.
Michael Jordan, he said very nicely, it's not about the amount of hours you put in the practice, but the amount of practice you put in the hours. So you might be in the ashram for many, many years, but you just eat and sleep, and like not very sense-controlled. And you might be there for like a shorter period of time, but being like very, 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 very serious. And like in that way, difference of years, but also difference in practice. So yeah, it's a good point, but one needs definitely, and one should know if one enters Grihastha ashram that there will still be austerity. So one should not use it just to get like some relief from the austerity, but should know that austerity continues, and I will be upfront with the sense objects. So before putting myself in that position, I better be like probably trained and self-controlled. If you're not, then you're just like irresponsible and like these people who take sannyas without actually just being dependent on God. They just unnatural disturbance in society. So in the same way, untrained grihasthas become the same thing. So yeah, training needs to be there, definitely.
Just I want to make one more comment on this what I said. My point is not that entering Grihastha ashram is fall down, but actually that staying in brahmachari ashram and being disturbed and making show of this ashram is actually more fall down. So actually entering Grihastha ashram for such fallen, we can say, because if you somehow we are all struggling with our material desires, so actually it's advancing, and you said first class brahmachari becomes first class grihastha. So Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj was asked how it's possible that someone who is first class brahmachari, how it's possible for him not able to control senses and entering grihastha ashram. But then he's explaining how this actually means that first class brahmachari knows what is this critical point when I cannot maintain anymore celibate life, so I need to use this sexual life for Krishna conscious purpose. Yeah. But in the end we can say if we are, whatever is not according to this standard word, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that I'm not Brahman, I'm not Kshatriya, I'm not Vaishya, Shudra, I'm not Sannyas, Vanaprastha, Grihastha, Brahmachari, I'm just the servant of the gopis. Then actually this is fall down for any ashram and any class society. So we must become, pure Vaishnava and servant of the servant. Brahmachari ashram, Grihastha ashram, it's,
Yeah, it's like
so this is my point.
We should be able to take up any role and do it for Krishna. Like if we're told we should enter that ashram, then we do that, and if we're told we should enter that ashram, then we do that. We're just disciples of our spiritual masters, and whatever instructions we get, we just follow them because we accept them as instructions of Krishna. So we just, wherever we may be, we just try to remain Krishna conscious and to preach and never give up this mood of compassion and love for all the conditioned souls. Because we can preach in like any sphere, like you can always preach. And so we should try to just stick to that point. Because also that will like that lust, if it may be like because there's too much lust in the heart that one thinks, oh, I'm disturbed, I need to change my ashram. So you just like by connecting more to Krishna, like this verse I quoted says like when the name of Krishna dances on the tongue and it enters the holes of the ears and it enters like the heart, all the senses become completely stunned in wonder. So if we actually take benefit of the holy name, then our lust becomes completely stunned. Like it's not active anymore because it's just, wow, Krishna is amazing. Let's go tell people. Okay, I think we are out of time. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All the way to Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Bhagavatam ki, Jai.
Everything, everyone is connected.
Ja. Så fine ord derude. Ja, altså.
Hare Krishna.
Jeg har store problemer med det registreringsprogram. Alt det, jeg sad og lavede i går, som jeg troede igennem, så var det væk. Jeg har noget herude, og jeg sad og viste, hvordan jeg skulle gøre, men hvis man ikke har, jeg skulle gemme det. Okay, så jeg